Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome to our webinar this morning. I'm Peter, this is Anna as well, and we're looking forward to a 60-minute blast through looking at speaking with impact and elevating your business. Good morning, Anna.
Good morning, Peter. It's so good to be here with you and to share some goodness with everyone who's watching.
Yeah, so it's going to be a bit of fun. We're going to share some ideas with you. Your 60 minutes of investment time, which we really appreciate. In return, we will give you as much as we can to help you to improve your ability to speak in front of groups of people, whatever it is you do, with its personal business, whatever it is. After 60 minutes, you'll at least have had a couple of things that you can go away and say, thanks for that. It was worth 60 minutes of my life, because it will go away and make a difference in my life personally. So that's our idea. That's our intention. And we will run exactly for 60 minutes. And at the end of it, we're going to tell you about a program that we've got. And simply enough, we'll say, here it is. This is what it's about. You won't get a heavy sales pitch through this. Our intention is to give you some thoughts and ideas. And then if you like what we do, then you can check us out and we can have a conversation at a later date. But for now, sit back and enjoy 60 minutes with Anna and myself. And, we'll do our best to give you some good information. What do you think, Anna?
Absolutely. Sounds like a plan. I look forward to it. We always have fun, and our primary objective is really to add value to people. So that's what we're going to do. And if it works out into something, more and further journey for both of us, all of us, then it's great. So, actually, the first speaker, there's only two, but the first speaker of this exciting webinar is Peter Roper. And if you know him, he doesn't really need an introduction. He's just an incredible man. But let me share just a few things. If you haven't heard who Peter Roper is, he has been in business for a number of years, nearly 40 years, and he's not that old. Don't worry about it. He only started when he was 10, so don't concern yourself with that. But he is absolutely passionate about entrepreneurship, business growth in his own life, and also helping other people grow their businesses. Because over his path, he has had 6 businesses, 3 of which were really great success, and 3 not so much. But guess which ones he learned most valuable lessons from? So he knows a thing or two about running a successful business. He has worked with thousands of family business owners across the UK, helping them grow and develop. And he is passionate about it, and he's good at it. He's also good at speaking, because he has been a speaker for a number of years. He has shared his keynotes and presentations in front of more than 750,000 people worldwide. I mean, that's a lot of people, nearly 1 million people. So you learn a thing or two after that experience, that exposure. He has earned the reputation of being a natural speaker over that time, because you get the same Peter Roper on stage and off stage. He's just authentic, genuine guy who is there to help people, inspire them, equip them, and help them become a better version of themselves. He has served as a national president of the Professional Speaking Association in the UK in 2009. He was a board member, and he's also an author. Peter Roper is an author of 6 books, one of which is called And Death Came Third, became a New York Times bestseller in the first 12 hours of its release. And Peter will tell you more about that book, which is a fascinating story. So the man really will inspire you, will educate you, will entertain you, and equip you with practical tools to elevate your results, to elevate your business. And the most important thing, which I love most about working with Peter is that he is a man of integrity who deeply cares. So please help me welcome to the stage Peter Roper. And when he speaks, you'd better listen and take notes because that man has profound wisdom. So, Peter Roper, on to you.
Thanks, Anna. Thanks for that. That's a very kind introduction. I am going to use some slides for some of the stuff that we're going to put into here. And then I'll give you some thoughts and ideas, and then we're going to have Anna give you some ideas from a different viewpoint. All of these things we're all passionate about at the end of the day. But you're going to get a male perspective, a female perspective, an older person. Bless you. Yes, I was -10 when I started. And a younger person's perspective. So, you're going to get a boomer, you're going to get a millennial. And that's the whole point that this presentation is you get a very blended approach, which one of the reasons which excites us. So I'm going to share these slides and see how we go with that now. So I want to talk to you about growing your business and being confident while you do it, because I think that for many people is a key thing. And let me just shift it to that. There you go. I'm assuming for a minute that actually you're in business, but you might not be. You might be employed. You might be employed, but you want to move forward. You want to move upwards. You might be none of those things. You might be working for a charity. It might be that you're just thinking about how you can improve. And it doesn't matter what you do at the end of the day. Speaking is a big deal. It's a big deal for so many people. So let me just flick through to this obvious question. We're now 7 minutes in to this webinar. And I'm asking you the largest question you can possibly have when you're talking about speaking in front of people. It doesn't matter whether you're just standing up, sitting down in front of 10,000 people or one person. There must be a reason why you're here. And that's the thing that I particularly want to cover in the next sort of 15, 20 minutes or so, which is I want to understand why you're here and how perhaps what we do can help you. Because asking the question why is one of the Kipling's 6 serving men of who, what, where, when, why, and how. Why, in my experience, is the toughest question. So why are you here? Let's just have a think about it for a second. And why are some of the people that are currently watching this? Why are they here? Well, could be one of 1,000 reasons. It could be to improve your career. Maybe you're employed, as I said earlier on. And you know what, you want to stand out, and you've recognized the fact that actually standing up in front of a group of people is the way to do that, to improve your career, to be the one that stands out and shines, or frankly, that just stands out, because so many people will not do this. They won't stand up and speak, and I'll share some of the reasons why that is in a few minutes' time. But for now, why you're here, maybe it's to improve your career. Maybe you're in business and you want to get more business. Anna and myself, we're both the same. We both have businesses. We both want more business. We all also want better business. I'm known as the family businessman, and there are 3 keys to being a family business, and that is to fill the fridge, to sleep at night, and to work with people you know, like, and trust. And that essentially is what I've done over the last sort of 27, 28 years with family businesses, including our own. Getting the right type of business, the type of business where people appreciate what we do. They're great to work with. And you know what? They are happy to pay our bill. So getting the right business is paramount, especially these days. I listened to a Radio 4 program on the BBC this morning, listening to the fact that the market is stagnated in the UK. Well, actually, it's stagnated across Europe, and funny enough, it's not that much better in other parts of the world. And everybody's looking to get more business, but it's not always more business you want. Quite often, it's better business. So maybe that is a route for you to find people by standing up and speaking about your business. Or maybe it's because you want to be recognized as the authority in your field, and that's a gratuitous picture that I put in there quite deliberately. I'm hoping for the sun to come soon. It's February in the UK at the minute, but the sun is on its way. Although it's seasonally warm at the minute here. Having said that, if you're in a field of wheat or barley or what have you, it's very, very hard to stand out. And so becoming the authority in your field undoubtedly can take you as an individual and your business or your career, whatever it is, forward. But how do you become recognized as the authority? One of the ways you do that, standing up in front of people and speaking in front of people over and over again. So maybe that's the reason you're here. And 50 minutes left, 10 minutes into this webinar. Maybe that's what's floating your boat. Or maybe it's simple and it's for recognition. There's nothing wrong with that at all. People crave recognition. There are many people. I saw a thing on, I think it was LinkedIn or Facebook fairly recently, of a guy who'd worked for the same business for 40 plus years. He was made redundant. They didn't even say goodbye, which was terrible. It was so bad that one or two people recognized it, including their employees, that was an awful thing to do. And they got a GoFundMe page on the go and all the rest of it. And eventually this person got the recognition they deserved. Unfortunately, it's true that sometimes to get recognition, you have to put your foot forward and you have to go an extra mile. One of the ways of doing that, speaking, no question about it. However, it's my experience, it's Anna's experience, that invariably people are held back when it comes to speaking in public. And you have to ask the question, which is, well, what's holding you back? And it may be that you're watching this right now and saying, well, no, I'm not being held back. I'm on this webinar. I'm up for it. I want to do something. And if that's the case, bear with me just a few minutes, because my experience is that for the vast majority of people, they're held back. There is never a huge queue for people to stand up and speak. I've proven that over and over again, and the story I'm going to share in a minute. And so that proves to me over and over again, having spoke for, at least 4 decades now, that many people are held back. And held back for what reason? Well, the more obvious one, I guess, is lack of knowledge of what they're talking about. They're nervous because they don't think they're experienced enough. Or maybe they just they haven't got the knowledge or experience of how to stand up and speak and present, which are 2 different things, really. Many people I know have got all the knowledge that they need for what it is they want to talk about. It's the fact they haven't got experience of standing up and speaking. And as with all things, the more you do it, the better, hopefully, you'll get. I have to say, occasionally, it's just simply a belief pattern. It's a pattern that Anna understands more about this than me, but a belief pattern that says, well, can I do this really? And then more importantly, as you're watching this webinar right now, is, do you believe you can speak in public? That's the real question. And that can hold an awful lot of people back. And the good news is I can help share 1 or 2 things, and so can Anna, about that. But let's just explore it a bit more. Most people are held back by this fear. That's the thing that holds most people back. Now, that is another gratuitous picture of a cat, because Anna loves cats. Yes. That picture scares me to death, but there you go. But fear is the number 1 thing for most people when it comes to speaking in public. And I can prove that quite simply because, as Anna said, back in April the 5th, 2006, my co-author, Andy Lepatra, and I wrote a book called And Death Came Third. And many people have asked, why on earth did we call it And Death Came Third? Well, it's very simple. A 1984 New York Times survey of our top 10 fears showed that in 7th place came fear of snakes, 6th was a fear of spiders. And can you believe that death came third? Honestly, death came third. Walking to a room full of strangers and speaking in public are number 1 and number 2. And they run this poll every year. And guess what? The same 2 come get to the top. So we would rather leap into a pit of snakes and spiders and die than actually walk into a room full of strangers and perhaps stand up in front of them and speak, which is bonkers, but it is also totally understandable. And that's the reason why we wrote that book about networking, speaking in public, because the 2 go together. Anna's very kindly said, of my history, and it is my history at the end of the day. I am 67 years old now, so I've got a history. But actually, if I go back in history, that isn't me, but it's kind of a similar picture that I could find. I kind of looked like that as a boy at a boys' state grammar school when I was 11, 12 years old. The only thing I suppose at school was we didn't have the microphone at that point. But other than that, that's pretty much how I looked. So I've used that picture as an example. when I was 11, 12 years old, I was at State Boys Grammar School, and I didn't enjoy school for that 5 years I was there. I'd love to say that it was the best days of my life, but it wasn't. And in fact, the one and only thing I think I could do was I could be the kid that would read out of a book. And I was reasonably good for my age, I guess, at doing that. And I was quite happy to do it. And what I found was that I kept being asked to do it because nobody else wanted to do it because they didn't want to look stupid in front of their peer group. And as you know, in schools, kids can be tough. And so I used to be the kid that used to read out of a book. And one day, the English teacher, who didn't like me and I didn't like him, asked me to read out a poem out. It's very famous. It's called Tiger, Tiger by William Blake. And I read it out. It started in my best Birmingham accent, Tiger, Tiger, burning bright in the forest of the night. And I read it out and he said, "What is it about, Roper?" And I said, "It's about a tiger, sir." And he looked at me and he said, "You are a cretin, and with a Birmingham accent, sit down and never speak in this school again." Now, when I tell that story, one or two reactions happen. Either people start laughing, and that's perfectly fine. Or an awful lot of people say, "Oh, that's terrible," or, something similar happened to me. So let me tell you, for the next 5 years, I never stood up in that school again, ever. So the one thing I was any good at, they stopped me doing, which is probably one of the reasons why I didn't really like the school much. So fast forward, I left school at 16 and started working for a couple of places. Originally, I was just a toast getter, and I kind of moved on to when I was 18, come 19, and I'd worked for a major motor manufacturer, and I was persuaded to become part of a program. And that program was learning all about the company, and it was a major motor manufacturer in those days. And just before a presentation was made, I was stitched up to make the presentation. And it was in a room like that. And I've deliberately picked a black and white room because that's really how it looked. The only difference was there was no cameras, no sound equipment, not even a flip chart. And what you had to do was stand at a dais and read out the notes that you've got. And not only was I stitched up to do it, but I was stitched up with what I was going to read out, because what I didn't know was that it was actually highly contentious. And, it was all about don't shoot the messenger. But guess what? I was the messenger. And because I was politically naive as an 18, come 19-year-old, I didn't know any different. So I stood up, and I have to tell you, I'd never stood up again since that time in school. And I was terrified. I tried every which way not to go on the day. And I managed to go there. I had to walk onto the stage. And I can tell you truthfully that when I got to the dais, my legs had gone. And I was hanging on to the thing for grim death. If you looked at the whites of my knuckles, you'd know it to be true. And the only reason why people wouldn't have known it was because the dais hid my legs. And so I read out the information. And very quickly, I noticed that my boss, my boss's boss, and my boss's boss's boss were in the audience, and they were not happy. They weren't happy at all. And they weren't happy because the messenger was delivering some information which would affect them badly, and it made them look bad too. So they were looking daggers at me. They were very unhappy. And I started to realize what I'd been stitched up to do. As I said, I was naive as an 18, come 19-year-old. I had no clue about corporate politics in those days. And I looked to some friends in the audience for some support. And guess what? Every time I looked at them, they looked away. They looked down, anything but looking at me. And then I looked directly at the boss, the boss's boss, and the boss's boss's boss. And every time I looked at them, they looked down too. And in that small second, there was a seed that was planted in my brain, which was they might be very unhappy, but none of them wanted to actually say anything. They didn't want to speak in front of a group of people any more than anybody else did, because fear, and death came third, that fear of being in a room full of strangers and speaking in public was a very, very real fear for them as well. And in that small way, and I finished what I had to do, and it was a bit of fun and games afterwards. But in that small way, I learned that actually speaking in public is a very powerful thing. And so through my career, I realized I needed to do something. And the one thing I did was I went to school. And by went to school, I meant that I read books. I used to listen to what was cassette tapes in those days. Well, I used to watch videos, DVDs, all the rest of it. And I have done for many, many years. The library that I've amassed and given away, in fact, and passed on, is and has been considerable. And I realized I needed to go to school just like anything else. And it was I went through a corporate career. I got better at what I was doing. Eventually, 27 years ago, I started my own business, got involved with speaking in public, professionally. And I joined the Professional Speaking Association. And I learned from my peer group and still do to this day. I was at a PSA event only on Monday, in fact, and we'll be at a mastermind group next Monday, because I believe you can never stop learning. It's the only way to take yourself forward, and especially as life is changing so much, so fast, in so many different ways, and generationally it is so different. But we are all joined by one thing, and that is this fear of speaking in public. And that's something I've helped many, many individuals and organizations over the last 27 years or so. And that's why I'm so delighted to be working with Anna on a program that looks at not only at the experience of both our sides, and in a few minutes, Anna will share some of her story with you, but also the fact of how life is very different, but also very much the same. And I think the thing for me to think about is that now we're 21 minutes into this webinar, and hopefully I've opened some thoughts in your mind of why it is that you came on this webinar in the first place, and why you should do something about it. And whether it's with us or with someone else, I salute you that if you do something to improve yourself when speaking in public, well done, because many people just won't do that because of their fear. But what I would say is, do look to work with people who've got a proven platform, trusted experts who know what they're doing. They've been around the block. They know, exactly what this process is about. It's not something that they've just decided to pick up, create a little quick program on, and thanks very much. It's based on a thing called experience and track record. And maybe what we're going to share with you very briefly at the end is the fact that we've got a program that might just be for you. And what we're not doing is doing the whole unethical selling and poor trust programs that so many people seem to sell on social media these days. Anna's value sets and her personal integrity, is very much similar to my own, and we won't do that. We will work with people for the right reasons. So if it's something you want to check out more, I hope that's the starter for 10. As we're now 24 minutes into what we're doing. My key for you is to ask yourself why you want to do something, and who is it that you really want to work with, and look for track record. So hopefully that's useful. I'm now going to bring Anna onto this. So let me just do that. Hope that was useful. Anna's here.
Absolutely, it was useful. I was taking some notes as
Oh,
well,
bless
even
you.
though I've heard it before.
I know. Bless Alice. He's heard it more than once. But anyway, that's the deal. That's the way it works. But actually, what you say, funnily enough, I saw somebody speak only on Monday, and I've known that person for 20 plus years, and they actually spoke on a subject I've seen them speak on many occasions. I still learn stuff though. Still learn
Because
stuff.
you change, like the information doesn't
Yeah,
change, but you
yeah.
expand. Your consciousness grows. So that's how it works. And the
Very,
same with
very, very,
same-
very short story.
Mm,
I remember being on a tour some years ago, certainly pre-COVID, and it meant I had to speak in the West Midlands in the UK, and I spoke in 7 different places over, I think it was 7 or 8 weeks. And by the 7th one, there was one guy who had gone to all the events. Right, so I mean, we were laughing at before I started, and said, "Well, you could probably do it better than I could," And anyway, he watched me on this 7th one, and he walked up to me afterwards and said, "Peter, I'll be blunt with you. I kind of got what you were talking about, but I wasn't in the right space for it, really. I'm so grateful I came tonight because I was ready for that message. Thank
mm,
you, and I will do something." Which proves the point, doesn't it? You never know. Anna,
absolutely.
you're absolutely right. It only works when you're ready. Only ever
Yes.
works when you're ready.
Sometimes you can hear the same idea, the same thought million times, but the penny doesn't drop
Yeah,
because, like you say,
yeah.
the circumstances are not right, and you
No.
just have to be ready to receive the message. And one idea can change your entire life.
Now,
Yeah.
talking about changing life,
Mm.
let me just do a brief introduction to Anna. Anna is from Ukraine. I think you probably guessed that. And Anna's story you should really check out. She was born into poverty and had a happy but very poor childhood. You know, your excitement about getting running water and running toilets and bathrooms is still there to this day. And she had a dream. Anna's dream was that she wanted to go to America because she felt that's where she wanted to go. And all around her, including family, thought that was hilarious and it was a joke and it could never possibly happen. But as you get to know Anna, you'll find out she is one very determined woman. And she saved and did all the things that she needed to do. And eventually she made it happen and somehow got to America and followed the American dream in many ways. And then found out that the American dream isn't quite what it seems. And we understand that as a family. Our son and family, live in America. So we know a little bit about America. And one of the things is that, you have to find your way just like everybody else. And Anna, at one point, was working 3 jobs, trying to make ends meet, thinking, what the heck am I doing? And then she decided to follow her heart, and her heart was that she wanted to learn how to stand. Don't forget, she was learning languages at the same time. Anna can speak several languages. I can speak English and Brummie. That's my 2 languages, basically. Anna's capable of speaking other languages. She's a student in whatever she got into, and she became a student in speaking. And very quickly rose up to a very high level and has helped many people to stand up and speak and present. She's shared the stage with some phenomenal, well-known worldwide speakers. And so her experience has brought her to the place where she is now. And the place where she is now, you see, the backdrop, of course, is that she fell in love with an Englishman and came to the UK a few years ago. But you see, you can't have everything, Anna, but there you go.
No.
But Christian and Anna run a very successful coaching business. But Anna's love is helping people to stand up and speak and present. And that's what's drawn us to put a program together. So in exactly the same way, I would suggest that you listen to someone that looks at things from a different perspective, a female perspective, dare I say it, a younger perspective, and a highly experienced perspective. And I know what Anna's going to share with you is informative. It's well proven. And over the next sort of 20 minutes or so, 25 minutes, you will have something to take away. Whether you do anything else with us, whatever, you'll have something that is worthwhile listening to. So, Anna, over to you.
Thank you, Peter. Yes, that was a lovely introduction, and I will do my best to really add value here. As Peter said, I indeed had quite a journey, quite a story of my own to share. And that actually, my story isn't just about coming to America and following my dreams, but it's also about finding my voice and finding the place where I belong in life and how I could contribute to other people. And that's when I discovered my gift of speaking and storytelling. And what I have come to realize ever since, like when I started we are very blessed, my husband and I, to be able to work with some incredible individuals in our Conscious Coaching Academy accreditation, is that a lot of people come to me and they say, well, my story isn't like, it's ordinary. It isn't like yours. I don't have rags to riches type of story. And I'm like, this is excellent, because the more ordinary your story is, the more relevant it's going to be to so many people. But you really have to take ownership of your story, because that was my journey. That was my path. Until I recognized the value of my story, I wasn't able, I couldn't find the direction of my life. And how I could fit in. I mean, yeah, there were so many challenges being on my own in a different country, in a different world, not speaking good English. There were lots of challenges, but what kept me going was that self-reliance, which came from the belief that I can do it, that I have something to say, I have power within me. I was able to change my life, to transform my life in unrecognizable way, and I can make this speaking thing work. And I did. I was a hustler, and I have lots of stories on this topic, and for the sake of time I don't want to share all of them, but I have written 2 books. The first one, Create the Life You Dream About, where I describe the journey that took me from poverty in Ukraine to America, and the recent book that I published was Your Story is Your Power. How do you leverage the biggest asset you have? Your voice, your messages, your stories. Because what we offer in terms of business and what other companies offer is not unique, because there are so many other similar services or products that you can choose from. But what makes us unique as companies, as solopreneurs, as individuals, is our voice and our story. So let's talk about that. I'm gonna, as Peter mentioned, that you want to improve your speaking in order to increase your results. Perhaps it's your career, perhaps it's charity or recognition, but I'm gonna share in the context of business why improving your speaking abilities will help you grow and increase your results. So I'm going to just share my iPad. This is going to be my presentation. And I'm going to draw a lot of models today. So let's talk a little bit about, speaking and what people actually pursue when it comes to, to growing their business. So when it comes to business growth, most people want is more clients and more money, because that establishes growth. But it's actually quite a shallow approach to building and growing a business. Because if you imagine an analogy of an iceberg, everything above the water level is shallow, and everything below the water level is deep. And it gets deeper the further down you go. But you can't be shallow and deep at the same time. So I'm not saying that clients having more clients or better quality clients and more money isn't important, but that's quite a shallow approach, because that's not where the journey begins. A deep approach to growing, building, or scaling a business elicits deep thinking. And the greatest form of a deep thinking is asking a better question, which is, how do I connect with my audience, with my customers, with the people I want to reach in an ethical, you probably have gathered it by now, that we stand for ethics, and authentic way. Because when you connect with your audience in an ethical and authentic way, you can influence them. So it gets a little bit deeper, like connection. When you ask that question, you begin to further unpack this concept, which translates into the next question. What is the true meaning of the impact I provide? Because I believe that any business is a force for good, is a mission to make this world a better place. I mean, come on, let's think from an impact perspective. You don't just provide services, you don't just sell products, you make this world a better place in the context of what you do. And it's time for you to clarify, to find that clarity on how to express the value of the impact you provide with persuasion. But again, in an ethical and authentic way. You want to persuade people in an ethical and authentic way. So, but it gets even like, these things are important. Clarity on what you do, the value you provide, so that it influences and persuades people. But it gets even deeper than that. What it boils down to is that you deserve to become an authentic impact maker. And this is where the power of stories comes into play. Your story is your power. Your story is your biggest differentiator. Forget calling cards, forget fancy websites, forget fancy marketing, which is part of the process, part of the puzzle. But without the story, you will not have a strong foundation to stand on. But it's how you share that story. It's not just about once upon a time or sharing your biography or what you have done. That's boring. So what we are going to talk about is how to make your story relevant to other people, because when they can see themselves in your story, they can resonate with your concepts, with your messages. They will become more inclined to buy from you, to say yes to you. So this is in essence what we are so passionate about. Like, we want you to become that authentic impact maker, to go really deep, because a lot of people, here is what's happening, a lot of people pay all the attention and all the efforts at the tip of the iceberg. You know, marketing tools, how to get clients, how to get systems, like this is what you need to do, the how. Now, I'm not saying it's not important, it is, but it's only 10% of what's happening with the entire iceberg. The majesty is at the base, and it's usually unseen. The 90% of what's happening is below the water level. And the icebergs always move in the direction of the base, because that's where the majesty is. So let's talk about how to make the base of an iceberg the powerhouse with the help of your voice. I want to share with you a quick story of one of our beloved clients, Michelle. She's part of our Conscious Coaching Academy, and that's her picture. She's holding my book, and we actually had a session with her yesterday. She's a phenomenal leader. Now, she came to me because she wanted to launch her coaching business. Her career as a nursing leader for 30 years abruptly ended. She was just asked to go, like as Peter mentioned in his story that he heard on the radio. It's quite common. So, but she, after a short pity party, she decided to pull herself back together and jump into helping nursing leaders and people in the medical healthcare system with the services, and leveraging her impact, her experience and expertise. 30 years of experience, so she knows a lot of things. But the problem was, how do you get seen by the audience? How do you position your expertise? How do you leverage your story, your experience, your expertise? So we started working together, and she is a phenomenal action taker. So she was implementing stuff. So we started working on how to leverage her story and craft her signature blueprint. And she developed this powerful SOAR methodology that she takes her clients on, whether she works in groups or one-to-one. And she started getting some traction, like one-to-one clients, but soon enough she was tired of like hustling and then not knowing where the next client is going to come from. So she came up with an idea to create an inner circle, and we actually strategized about how to launch the second cohort, because she successfully launched the first cohort, which was, she actually kept the updates with me, sending me these emails. I sold 5, I sold 6, I sold 9. She actually sold, her goal was to sell 10 people, and I think she sold 10 people. And the impact she has created with those people was phenomenal. Now, just from a business perspective, these people, they committed to paying 12-month membership. So her income increased because she learned to express the impact she could provide on those people. Now, There is no reason why Michelle's story can't be your story, but it starts with the stories you tell about your business, how you communicate with your audience. So there are few dimensions that people occupy when it comes to speaking and expressing their stories. Okay, so the first we have to look at how you show up. And a lot of people show up to impress. When you show up to impress, started speaking, especially at the beginning, it's all about you. It's all about how much you know, what you have done, and the focus is on you. But when you show up to inspire, it's no longer about you, but it's about your audience and making a bigger impact. On the other side, we have to consider how you position your value. What's the substance of your message, of your speaking, of your stories? And for a lot of people, especially at the beginning of the journey, it's shallow. The positioning is shallow and confusing. But it doesn't mean that the value isn't there. They just haven't learned how to express it position it in a way that makes sense, that resonates with people. However, when you figure out how to position your profound value in a simple and easy to understand way, everything changes. So depending on how you show up and how you position your value, what do those quadrants look like? Well, if you show up to impress and you haven't really figured out how to position your value in a powerful, clear, and simple to understand way, you occupy the space of what I call being the copycat, which is basically regurgitating someone else's ideas, concepts, imitating others, using the common phrases and quotes, following templates. In essence, it's a red zone. It's a zone of frustration, and you don't really connect with people if you are just regurgitating someone else's ideas. On the other side, however, we have seen a lot of people who actually figure out how to position their value in a way that makes sense, that awakens and activates desire, that makes it clear to follow. But if those people come from the place of impressing people, impressing their audience, it's about them still. And they occupy this space of what I call being an ego person. Hey, look at me. I'm a big shot here. I'm a superstar. I know my stuff. I have figured out the secret to success, and I'm just here to shine in my glory. Look at my bank account. They usually boast with how much money they make, and they promise this. They give the shallow promises like, "Oh yeah, you can reach those 30K in your sleep," and this is not an iconic and authentic impact maker pathway, because it's not about you. Even when you share your stories, it's not about you. It's about your audience and the impact you are making. So the first shift that needs to happen is you need to shift your attention from yourself to your audience, from trying to impress them to inspiring them. Leave your ego at the door. Be authentic, be genuine. Don't try to impress people, because it's not about you. So when that shift happens, and we see a lot of people, they do that, especially in our Conscious Coaching Academy, they want to make a difference in other people's lives. But if they haven't figured out how to position, let's put it, which color should I put? How to position their value in a simple and clear way, they occupy this space of what I call being an amateur. they're making these awkward attempts at sharing their message and their stories, but it's not really unique. It's not that persuasive. It's still a little bit unclear, but it's getting better. However, there is room for growth. So our goal for you is to occupy this top dark green zone, this level where you share your profound value with confidence, ease, and clarity, and you are there to inspire your audience. And when you do that, you occupy the space of what I call being a respected expert. In the context of speaking, now it's you are probably already, most likely you are a respected expert in what you do. People look up to you. But when it comes to speaking, you want to inspire people with the help of your stories and your voice. But even though you share your stories, it's not about you. It's about your audience, and it's about helping them. Now, it can go even higher than that, because if you take your ability to inspire of 8 and above and your ability to position your value of 8 and above, you can elevate yourself to this top super zone, which I call being the visionary guide. What is the difference between a visionary guide and respected expert? Well, when you occupy that space, you step up, you make this zone available for your audience. So you look at your audience as heroes. But if you are there, you you can't look at them as heroes, because that space is occupied by you. So you have to position yourself as that guide who can help your audience get them to their promised land, whatever that means to them in the context of what you do. And that's where you develop that texture, depth, and you connect with people at a visceral level. I love the quote by Maya Angelou, who said, "People will forget what you did, they will forget what you said, but they will never forget how you made them feel." And the best way to make people feel something is through sharing an impactful story that connects and resonates with them. So, I want to talk about, like, you can absolutely get to that role of being a visionary guide, to move people, to connect with them so you can convert them into your audience, into your customers in an ethical and authentic way. And we have a program that I'm going to share in just a second. But for now, I want you to think about your future. So most people think that the distance between today and some point in the future is a straight line. But actually, it's not a straight line, it's a curve. And it can either go up into the dream business, let's call it this way, on the green zone, or it can go down into mediocrity or worse. And who wants to be average? Let's be honest. Like, I assume that you want to be on the green line. What is the difference, you might ask? Well, the difference between red and green line is the difference between drift and decision. You have to make a decision right now to jump the lines. And this is not to push you to sign for our program, but whatever you do, you have to make a conscious decisions to step up for your life and to get on the green line, to intentionally move up. And you have to not just make the decision once, but make a decision to stay on the path, to ride the curve. Because the truth is that people don't fall off the green line, they behave off the green line. So you have to be really intentional about what decisions you are making and how committed are you to bringing that decision to fruition. So be really conscious about making the decisions about your future. Now, with that being said, let me just share briefly about our program that we have. It's a 6-week program. It's called Speak with Impact. So, what's going to happen on the inside? Session 1, Peter will talk about why you speak and addressing the big elephant in the room to find clarity on your further concept to flesh out your big point. And I'm going to talk about why sharing stories as a way to stand out and elevate your brand, to open up people's hearts and minds. Session number 2, what's the point or your message that you're sharing? Peter will share the strategy with you, how to clarify the central theme or the thesis of your speech, your presentation, to be really clear on where you're taking your audience. And I will share about the storytelling framework, like how do you actually compose a story, which is a very versatile framework that could be used for like a 3-minute vignette to a keynote presentation to a workshop. But you've got to have a structure, a framework. Session number 3, how do you close a speech? You have to begin with the end in mind, because what you're going to say last, people will remember most. And Peter has developed this powerful methodology of how to make this process really simple. And I'm going to talk about the types of stories to connect, to clarify and organize your content and your stories in a purposeful way. So what are the types of stories that you could share to make the most impact and to awaken possibility and inspire people's actions and behavior? And session number 4, we're going to talk about how do you open a speech? How do you capture people's attention? How do you make that first impression with your first lines? Because if you fail to grasp people's attention at the beginning, no matter how much gold you have further on to share, they're not going to be engaged. So you got to be strategic about it. And I will talk about the strategic approach to storytelling. Okay, so it's not just about, capturing attention. It's also activating their interest and awakening their desire and compelling them to take action. Session number 5, what should you put in the body of the speech? Peter will talk to you about that. He will teach you actually, because that's the most fun part, and it's really easy to flesh out the big concept if you have done all those steps before this. And I will talk about how to generate ideas that stand out. Most people have this objection, well, but my stories are not attention worthy. I will share with you the practical steps, very simple but effective ways to get creative juices flowing and depict the most ordinary ideas in the most extraordinary way. And session number 6 is we're going to talk about the accountability, plan of action, discussions, feedback, questions, and anything that you might have. So it's also going to be fun and packed with lots of insights session. So that's what we have in store for you. And we would like to join you. Peter will share the QR code to check it out. If you want to reach out to either of us, we would be happy to answer your questions. But I hope this was helpful. So, Peter, do you have anything else to add? Have I forgot anything?
No, I don't think so. I think we've run through it very well in a timely fashion. All good speakers always finish before the end of time and don't go over. So we've got a couple of minutes left. Every time I listen to Anna, I learn something new. I learn something a little different each time. And I think that's what this process is really about. Yes, we're excited. Yes, we're enthusiastic. Yes, we've got a track record. Yes, we've got the experience to help anybody. So we know whoever you are, we can help you to whatever level you are, to wherever you want to be. We can help you. And that's not being big-headed. It's just our experiences. We can do that. It's more a case of what it is that you want. What do you want as an individual? Where you try to go, and we can help you with that. So we know the program will work. We know that it will take somebody from a level to another level, and in an upwards level. So we're excited about that. So the real thing is about taking action, and getting involved. So The QR code very simply will take you to the website. It will show you what we're all about and what we're trying to do. And, either get involved with it or simply enough, give us a shout. It's very easy to get either of us. Very easy to find us. And,
it's the wrong QR code. Sorry, Peter, it's your reputation gap. Let me just share.
Oh, hang on. Sorry, have I done the wrong one? Should I be doing that one by any chance? Try that one. My apologies.
Let me just share.
But on the other hand, if you want to come on the reputation, you're very welcome. Yes, you're right. It should be that one. Thanks for testing. Check in now. See, we're not perfect.
No,
I make mistakes all the time. That's why people call me the natural presenter. Often I will get things wrong. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. So you get it right in the end. That's the main thing. So. I think the important thing is, what is it for you? What is it that you want to get from your life? What is it you're trying to achieve? Go back to that why, and then say, okay, I want to commit to something that can help, and we would love to help you. It really is that simple. So I've answered some messages whilst Anna's been speaking. I've been answering some messages on LinkedIn and on Facebook. And so everybody that's still watching, that's very kind of you. Thank you very much indeed for that. And hopefully the comments I made were useful as well. And yeah, we're here. Give us a call, give us a shout. Go onto the website, check things out. And if you want us to help you, that would be great. Anna, unless you've got anything else to add.
Well, I just wanted to kind of rush through this, not realizing that I have a couple of more minutes. I wanted to emphasize the point that I was making earlier about the conscious decisions. So we are not really attached to whether you say yes to us or not, but I want to emphasize the idea, the point of you being really conscious about making decisions of elevating your life and improving your results. Because it's during those quiet moments of decision that your destiny is shaped. And if you are not intentional about the further direction of your life, how do you expect the great results to come from it? So I just want to leave you with that thought that you need to. In my life, I have realized that if I'm not willing to say yes to myself, if I'm not willing to step up for myself, I'm not willing to expand the possibility of what is possible for me. So you have to say yes to yourself. You have to step up. You have to take action on a continuous and constant basis. Evaluated action, because sometimes like you take action and it doesn't work and you do the same thing expecting different result, and it's a sign of insanity. So you have to have an evaluated approach to taking actions, but be conscious about it, be intentional about it, and make the decisions that are aligned with your big vision and your dream business, whatever that looks like for you. So that was my message that I just wanted to share.
Well, I think that's a great way to finish, Anna. I couldn't top that. So thank you very much indeed for your time. This webinar, we really appreciate the opportunity to share some ideas with you, and we hope you found those useful. If you wanted to go further, just follow the link or get in touch with us, and we'd love to help and serve you in some way. Other than that, have a fantastic rest of the day, and we'll hope to see you all again soon. So thanks very much indeed.
Thank you. Have a good day.